Some news came out from the scouting combine that affects the Chargers because we now know the Ravens have offered Tyler Linderbaum a market-setting offer.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. And David, we had a Linderbaum dropped on us.
We surely did. The Ravens are trying to keep him, but if I'm Tyler Linderbaum, I'm saying directly to my agent, show me the money.
Yeah, it doesn't really, if what they're offering him now isn't good enough, then obviously he thinks he's about to make a lot more, which means that for the suitors of Tyler Linderbaum, we could see a heck of a bidding war coming. But let's start with just the initial news that came out, because there was some thought that, the Ravens with their cap situation just wouldn't be able to bring him back. It wouldn't be a want thing. Obviously, you want him to bring him back. He's a really good center. But maybe they wouldn't be financially able to do it. But this is per John Ledyard. Eric DaCosta said the Ravens have offered Tyler Linderbaum a market-setting deal. They'll see where it goes from here. Called him the best center in the league. And David, the market right now is that the best center in the league, arguably, but definitely up there, is Creed Humphrey, who's currently making $18 million a year. So basically the Ravens are saying, hey, we have offered him that, and he turned it down.
Yeah, which is absolutely what he should do. If I'm Tyler Linderbaum, I'm like, why would I sit here and only entertain one offer? Right now, I can only receive one offer, and that's from the team that I was playing with. And unless he was completely enamored with the city and wanted to just stay with the team and give them the hometown discount, then he would have took the deal and he would have signed it, and it would have been a done deal. But this is a business. The NFL is a business, and he right now is at the peak of his earning potential right here in this free agency period, where he is still very, very young, very accomplished, and he is set to allow 3, 4, 5, 10 other teams to be able to bid for his services. And it's only smart business to allow those suitors to be able to give you their offers, so that way you can drive up the price and take the best, biggest deal that you want.
Yeah, and the thing is like any player that is, top 5 or arguably top 5 is probably going to be asking, outside of kind of rare scenarios, to reset the market and make the most. And I think,
no doubt,
as a, someone who covers the Chargers and knowing how good of a fit he would be with the Chargers, like I think you hoped, though, that maybe you'd have to pay him more than Creed Humphrey, but maybe you could offer him, a $19 million deal, and that it could get done, right, or something. And also, I just think it shows you, too, that it's like, hey, teams don't let great players get away, especially within reason, obviously. They're offering him, at least 19, probably $20 million per season. And he's saying no to that, even with their salary cap situation, right? So teams can always make it work. And it is important to remember that he may not make it to free agency, right? Like the #1 target the Chargers have right now might not get there. But if he does get there, let the games begin. Because this is from Jordan Schultz that came out a little bit after Eric DaCosta's comments, saying that Linderbaum is generating a ton of buzz from teams I've spoken to. If he reaches the open market, the expectation is he could land a deal north of $22 million per year. One executive told me the center is the extension of the coach for most of these teams, and he's 25, a 3-time Pro Bowler, and just getting started in his career. So I think that at this point, David, it basically makes it like, hey, even if he does get available, like the bidding war is going to begin. Not only is he going to be setting the market, but like if he's making, $4 million more than Creed Humphrey, like where are you at that point? And that just becomes like, hey, how much we know how big of an issue it is for your team. How much are you willing to admittedly overpay to go get someone as good as Tyler Linderbaum?
I'm willing to overpay more than any other team in the NFL. That's what I'm willing to do. Obviously, I don't make those type of decisions, but I've watched Justin Herbert get abused and beat up and seen too many free rushers go through wide open holes up the middle of his offensive line and have to immediately try to evade somebody or shake a defender off because of the pressure up the middle. And I'm just not willing to see that anymore. And fortunately for the Chargers, they got the biggest wallet, and they can make the cuts to where they can make and have the most cap space more than anybody else. They're already second in the NFL in cap space, and there's a couple of cuts that they can make to get to number one and have the most money. So if they really want to, if they want to make it a bidding war, the Chargers can win that bidding war, whatever level they want to take it to.
Yeah, and I agree with you for the most part. I don't mind overpaying, but like obviously to me it's within reason. Like I'm not paying Tyler Linderbaum, a top 5 center, $25 million per season. I'm just not going to do it because it just impacts what you can put around him at that point, right? If you're overpaying for him that much, 20 million, 21, even 22, I could probably get behind. But at the same time, like if there are that many teams, because this is the thing, like the Chargers aren't the only team that think they're fixing their offensive line with Tyler Linderbaum. Sure, the Giants think that. I'm sure that the Raiders think that. I've seen several other teams that think they're getting him, right? At the same time, like there are only 7 centers making more than $10 million per season, and $22 million is 3 times more than what the 10th highest paid center in the league is getting right now.
Yeah.
Right? That might be too much. And so like you don't want to hinder yourself from being able to get other guys you need to complete this offensive line. And maybe the better option is to pivot for someone like a Connor McGovern, who may not bring you what Tyler Linderbaum does in the running game, but it would absolutely be a great option for the Chargers. So we're going to talk about that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick in my 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft, and mine is Confetti Craze, a delicious blend of rich and buttery, freshly baked confetti cake, smooth vanilla frosting, and a sprinkle of sweetness in every sip. And that's, I think, the impressive thing about the Confetti Craze. You'd worry about it being too sugary, but it's not. Like, it has the good balance. The buttery cake kind of takes a little bit away from that sweetness, and it doesn't feel like it's just a sugar overload. And also, the great thing about 5-Hour Energy shots is it gives you the boost with 0 sugar. But if I had to, had a contender for the number one overall pick, I'd probably go with the classic. I've always been a big fan of the strawberry banana, which was in contention for my number one pick because you get that sweet strawberry flavor up front, and then it comes back around to give you that nice mellowness of the banana. But find your new favorite 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference, and that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great, most importantly. And there's a reason they're rated number one by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, because I'm not a great chef, but it's easy to see why everyone loves Home Chef because it is very easy to do, and the meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches if you need it. Over 30 weekly options as well, so you're not going to get tired of eating the same chicken and rice every night. You'll get that spice of being able to switch things up a little bit, and everything comes in pre-portioned. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive their dessert. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on you and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles onto your post. It makes sure that those right candidates will be able to see your job and make that an option for them. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to the Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. David, we still have more to get into because I do think that the bidding war, specifically for the Chargers, right? Because we can pay Tyler Linderbaum whatever we want with our hypothetical fun Chargers money, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that someone who's been as patient and kind of reserved as Joe Ortiz is going to be willing to kind of overspend on someone. Because, I mean,
True.
He has been very particular about how he spends his free agent dollars, and we're hoping he gets a little bit more aggressive this time around. But I do think that, hey, having that bidding war, knowing that the Ravens are making these offers to bring Tyler Linderbaum back should make the Chargers at least, decide to potentially pivot to someone like a Connor McGovern who would still bring them so much better than what they've had.
And that's absolutely what they need. They need an incredible improvement. And I always am going to lean, especially when we're talking about the center, to somebody who has been there and done that and had real success. And with Connor McGovern, it's 0 sacks and only 38 pressures allowed in his last 1,174 pass blocking snaps spanning over the course of the last 2 seasons.
That's
with an incredibly mobile quarterback with Josh Allen, who's moving around a lot, and that's factored into it. But that's right there. That's real production. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for when we're looking about, getting the next center of the Chargers. I want somebody who has the experience and has the track record of success.
Yeah, and even if it's not going to, solve the problem for you for the next 5 years, he's not old, right? And definitely with, again, you talked about it in the show earlier today, the Chargers haven't drafted a center since 2018, and it was Scott Quessenberry, right? Before that, I believe it was Max Turk. They ended up making Dan Feeney a center, but he was drafted as a guard. The reason you're in this spot is because you didn't draft and develop someone, and Connor McGovern at least gives you that chance, even if it's a 3-year deal, right? To be able to get somebody else in the door and start developing the pipeline to where you don't have to pay players top dollar. But right now, you're not there. And the thing is, for Connor McGovern, he's absolutely he could be signed right now, I believe, right? His contract was voided by the Buffalo Bills. But why would he, right? Because there's a reason that Tyler Linderbaum is resetting the market, right? You want to see what that guy's paid and be like, hey, listen, I'm the second best guy after this guy. This is what I should get paid right now. So just by the product of that, he'll probably be available for a little bit. Like the Chargers should. I mean, if I've said it before on the show, the main show, if you could sign Connor McGovern right now, do it, right? Even if it costs you a chance at paying or overpaying for Tyler Linderbaum, you solve that problem, and it does a huge, it gives me a huge boost of confidence as far as how much better this offensive line can get this year.
Some peace of mind.
100%. And he's also a good pass protector, but still also fits the system because he is nimble and athletic enough. And you look at what they were able to do last year and having one of the best rushing attacks in the league. He is athletic enough to go hit moving targets, to reach the second level, to do what Mike McDaniel wants to do in the running game. But at the end of the day, David, you have to come away with somebody because you cannot afford to go into the draft without having a starting center or a starting capable center on your roster.
Thankfully, we're not talking about tackles. Tackles are good. Hopefully, they come back and they're full, as close to full strength and full ability as they can be. That's a good thing. The guards, I'm much more likely, or I would accept it a lot better if they were to address that in the draft.
If you need one starting
one
in the
of
draft.
them.
Right. If you need to find a starting guard in the draft, I agree.
The position on the offensive line I absolutely will not compromise on getting a proven commodity is the center position. I don't want a lottery ticket. I don't want somebody in the draft that you have to hope is going to be the guy that's going to be able to step in and provide an improvement on what we saw the last few years. No, I want somebody who has been there, done that, and can do it for the next few seasons.
Well, and this is the thing, David, talking about the next few seasons all you want. The real reason you can't do it is because you might have a 1-year window right now with Mike McDaniel. Let's just say it how it is, right? So it might not be an all-in push, and you're still trying to build something that's sustainable, and you can build a winner year out and a contender year in and year out. At the same time, you might only have 1 year of Mike McDaniel. The last thing you want to do is blow it because you couldn't find a center that's good enough to play, average kind of level play. So, it has to be at least that. And The next biggest name after Tyler Linderbaum, after Connor McGovern, is Cade Mays. I talked about it on the earlier show. Maybe not the best fit. I know that Daniel Popper is super high on Luke Fortner from the Saints, who they have Eric McCoy, who they're paying for, right? So there's a good chance he becomes available. He said it's 3 years, $18 million. Hey, even if it's just that, and then you draft a center. But the problem is the highest graded center for Dan Brugler is 83, right? Daniel Jeremiah doesn't have a top 50 center in his list. PFF, I think, has their highest center in the 60s, and that's a guy who tore his ACL last year. So it's like, it's not like you have a Creed Humphrey there, right? Or even like a Frazier, like we saw a couple of years ago, right? Or even like a JPJ, where it's like, hey, if you get these guys, you might be able to plug and play him. Gray's able last year. Those guys aren't there in this one. There is no top 50 prospect at the position, which is why you have to get something done before you get there. But that's going to wrap things up for the bonus show. Make sure you're back here tomorrow and the next 2 days for a super off-season Chargers crossover. Chargers Unleashed, Locked On Chargers. We do it every year, and it's always the best. So make sure you're back here tomorrow to check out what Dan and Dave have going on over there as we get into everything the offseason is bringing to us. But to make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from, as well as finding the show every day on all of our social media, at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page, especially so you're not missing these cool bonus shows that we have for you guys and are going to continue to bring for you this entire offseason. But make sure you're back for the big Chargers crossover tomorrow. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.